It's 2.0, and we got a 2-for-1 today. 2 interviews in one day. If you're watching on social media, make sure and subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you share live on this program, we might even give you a shout out. And if you want all the amazing podcast episodes, now totaling over 100, you go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online. Let's see, we have a new episode every Wednesday that comes out. So you can check out multiple episodes and catch up with all the goodness that is on there. We're available on all 13 of the places you can get podcasts. The number 2 spot to get this podcast is Spotify. And this person has actually been to the Engaging Conference last year. If you want a ticket and not miss out, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/con. See it anywhere from the world and come check out all the latest in the art and science of engagement. Speaking of the art and science of engagement, this person cares about engagement. She's dedicated her life to reduce suffering, improve quality of life. She works tirelessly to find ways to make that easier. She hung out with people like Philip Zimbardo, the creator of the Stanford Prison Experiment, and she has her PhD. Please welcome the one and only Dr. Mel, the Squid Lady, Ganus. Mel putting her vote in for the podcast dance contest. There we go. Hi, Mel. How you doing?
Thank you, John Chen.
That's right. Yeah, now we know that Mel is close to John Chen because if you know the correct way to say John Chen, it is one syllable. So, how are you doing today, Mel?
It is a very weird time to be alive and paying any attention to the news or going into hiding. So I'm watching as the world continues to move forward. Very happy to have scheduled time to spend time with you today and looking forward to whatever it is we are streaming. Are we live streaming right now?
We're live streaming on over 15 platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Cue the music.
Yes. Yay!
Where's my? Oh wait, here's me. So here, what things that I can do for Mel here is like, let's see if we can do this one. Is it this one?
Welcome, everyone. The performance will be starting soon. Please find your seat and silence your cell phone. Thank you.
Almost nobody tells you to silence their cell phone anymore. I mean, geez.
I forgot to silence mine. We'll see how that goes.
I'm just trying to see if it's actually over here or not. All right. Well, anyways, Dr. Mel Ganus and I have known each other for quite a while. We actually were both employees at that little software company across the lake. But a few of my friends still don't know who the Squid Lady is. Dr. Mel, will you please take a moment to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Hi, I'm Dr. Mel, the Squid Lady, and I teach neuroscience and emotional intelligence wherever I am. Crisis management, how to do problem solving by using the SQUID method, 5 steps to mindfulness when we need it most. And it's based on the idea of whenever you feel like something is wrong, can you squid? Can you stop to ask questions to better understand? Can you imagine your choices, then decide on a plan? So I teach all over the world, and we're on a filter, so this is doing all sorts of neat effects. My focus is on improving quality of life for people around the world through experimentation. Every choice we make affects quality of life. So how's that going for us? John, I could go on and on about any number of things. Where would you like me to go from here?
Well, where would we like to go from here? Where was squid invented?
Squid was invented in 2008, the 5 steps, when I was working on a campaign, a consumer protection campaign. How do we help people with in their retirement years avoid being scammed and losing their money to investment fraud? And it came down to how do we get people who are in the emotional engagement process to pause and ask questions before you write a check. And we were trying all sorts of different things to see how we could increase the likelihood people would ask questions. This showed up on a whiteboard in my head one day, and then on the office whiteboard, and have a friend named Squid. So it was just fill in the blanks. We need people to stop and ask questions. What else do the other letters stand for? So look for a bigger picture. There's more going on than what you're immediately aware of. Imagine choices, because there's more than what your autopilot is telling you to do. And then choose, consider those options and choose consciously instead of just following your autopilot. You'll get better results, fewer regrets, and so on.
We're going to give a shout out to Raja39 and the Life in the Big Mango. Somebody's watching in Bangkok, Thailand. You have a friend named Squid?
I do.
Were they named at birth as Squid? Is that Squid a chosen name?
It is a chosen nickname that was given to them by other friends. So we met when he was already known as Squid. And yes, all sorts of wonderful memories there.
So when did you choose the identity Squid Lady?
So 2013. Fast forward, I finished my doctorate in 2009. I've been doing faculty development and all this other stuff. One of my biggest frustrations with having gone to education for so long, and I have an EDD, not a PhD. There's supposed to be a difference, but there's not really. I got so frustrated that you can go to graduate school and you can get access to all of this incredible research that is written in a way no human being should have to read. This is before ChatGPT, which is making things a little bit more accessible in some ways. But all of this fantastic knowledge about how the brain works that I didn't get until I was in grad school, and I needed when I was a kid. And I was just so frustrated that we have to get the research that's unreadable down to the kids who need it. And so this is how Squid was born, as a story. So whenever you feel like something is wrong, can you squid? That's the 5 steps. But you and your squid brain, can you think before you ink? A Dr. Seuss inspired explanation of neuroscience. That was for the 8-year-old that I cared about most in 2013. And the poem came whirring out of me. It's about 2 minutes long now. We've got it in a book on sale on Amazon, and I can tell it quickly here, or I could save it and say people should go and look at the links. We've done it in multiple languages.
I will put a link in the chat for the people, because she also has an accessible version that includes English, Spanish, and sign language, I believe.
English and Ukrainian.
And Ukrainian. All right. Yeah. So around that, then let's take a look into this. So how long have you been on virtual meetings?
You and I connected, I want to say 21. And as Zoom was just taking over for what we do while we're in lockdown, and you agreed with less than a week before the event date that we were going to do a 24-hour Zoom Squidathon. I wanted to be inclusive of everybody around the world. I've got friends in different parts of the world. Hi, Bangkok. And the idea of 24 hours covers all the time zones. And you were down with that. And oh my, and I just got a battery warning.
Hope you have a charger over there.
I did not prepare to be on live stream video today. I came by and I was like, oh, great, we get to talk. So I need a old style iPhone charger for the app that I'm in. So do you want me to monologue about something while you
keep talking?
Or you can, okay, so hi guys, John Chen, the great John Chen. And if you are learning the pronunciation, just tighten it up. John Chen has been one of the greatest friends and geniuses in the world I've been in for the last several years. So it's an honor to be on the podcast. I didn't know I was going to be on a podcast this morning. I booked an hour with him and thought I was going to just be asking him some questions and find out what's up. So he has been one of my greatest supporters as I've gone through this crazy journey of going from being a college professor. I was teaching before the pandemic as at University of San Diego as a professor of education. Thank you, sir. And then I was taking care of my mom for the pandemic. But I've been performing as Dr. Mel the Squid Lady since about 2014. And that's full costume on the streets, San Diego, parks and festivals, trying to narrow in on how to take my crazy and some really good ideas and get them out there into the world. I think we've reached about 20 or 30,000 people at this point, but it's the best idea I've ever been associated with. So I'm trying to figure out how to scale up, especially when the world is going insane.
Squids don't have scales.
This is true. They do not. They have beautiful skin. Okay, I'm plugging.
So Dr. Mel Ganus and I have done some things. She's actually helped out here. She's a member of the NSA Northwest chapter, so she's one of our speakers. I believe she's in the storytelling competition too. Is that correct?
It is. And I will be telling that my quest for redemption and why I'm Dr. Mel the Squid Lady.
Is that the topic of the story?
It is indeed.
Oh. Let's see, what was its applicability? I know applicability is one of the judging categories.
Applicability being something useful to take away from the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. So why am I doing this is because my choices in the past, I can give you the current version of the story that I've been working on. We're working on Last Story Standing workshop tonight, in fact. I've been practicing my little 5-minute, no more than 5 minutes, 5 minutes and 1 second is too long. And it's the most I've rehearsed something ever. Well, no, I take it back. I've been performing the squid poem forever. So I guess that one's really, really.
Yeah, I was going to say about something like that.
That's true. But yeah, the whole idea of why would I choose this path instead of any of the others? Because I made some horrible mistakes when I wasn't thinking clearly, when I didn't understand what was going on between my ears. And my redemption story, my quest for redemption is I've got to do something so that other people won't make the same horrible mistakes, make fewer mistakes. Hey, everybody listening, it's possible to make fewer really bad choices. You have to spend a little bit more time considering your options when things are going sideways. So
is there a mistake you can share to try and help somebody?
Yeah, the number one is losing it and squirting ink when there's a person that you care about deeply and you're triggering each other, and the inability to bite your tongue and just hold that urgent need to yell, scream, slam doors, and so on. Just take a beat, take a breath, take a break, and recognize that the people we love most have to deal with us at our worst, but they can only take so much. So we've got to be able to dial it in a notch. And when we're with somebody who is also losing it, whoever can get to calm first can help make that relationship possible to preserve. So
when's the time that you personally use squid?
Earlier today.
All right.
So the friend that I'm staying with is currently without internet, and I have been freaking out trying to figure out how to fix it. And I sat there having a full-on panic attack because I haven't been able to fix it. So the panic is just like, I'm going to die because the internet is down, this technology that didn't exist 40 years ago for us. But it's so embedded in our life that if we don't have it, we're all going to die. I'm like, maybe that's overreacting. Why am I? How can I calm down here? And just breathing into it and being able to reset so that I didn't get more wound up. And so I was able to be supportive without being a jerk. That helped. We can all be jerks. That's one of the other ones, is look in the mirror and recognize we can all be jerks. and be able to apologize. So,
So what was the solution?
um, it is yet unsolved, but the sense of what's the next step is in play. So, yeah, do we change service providers? Who's going to spend the next hour on a customer service call?
Well, fun fact, right? Both T-Mobile and Verizon offer a mobile version of internet, and Verizon's is actually half the cost of T-Mobile's. By the way, I'm not sponsored by neither company, so I don't really
And
know
you're
the
not.
price.
And thank you for the recommendation, because I think solving this problem might come down to switching services. So
$25 a month right now. I don't know if they went up, but
that's fantastic.
yeah, yeah. But that's one of the pandemic advices I gave out to people was call your provider. Call your provider and ask for the customer loyalty department. And often during the pandemic, I got 10 times the speed and it actually cost $20 a month less
Wow.
because they want to retain your service to them. And so they have deals once a year they can give you.
Okay. The person that I am staying with will be very happy to get your advice. In fact, he asked me to contact you specifically to get your advice. So, yay, John. John
Hey,
Chen.
all right.
John Chen.
Speaking of pandemic, then what did Mel do during the pandemic? It's March of 2020, world shuts down. What happened? Well, so
Oh,
this is like the ultimate like squid, right?
oh
The
yeah.
whole world inked itself. So what did you do?
Oh, and everything that was just such a bizarre year. So 2019 is when I stopped living in an apartment and moved into van life, nomadic lifestyle. My mom had been living in San Diego. She decided to move back to the Kirkland, Washington area. And that was all happening in December and January. So I had just gotten her stuff moved to Kirkland, Washington. I had flown back to get my car to drive up and help get her moved into her apartment as the stories started to escalate from China. And I heard that Italy had shut down its schools. And I'm driving north going, okay. And then I hear the news that Kirkland, Washington has the first positive test. The skilled nursing facility that was in Kirkland, the one that went completely hotspot, just a dangerous hotspot. And I knew as I was driving up to Kirkland that once I drive into a hotspot, I won't be leaving. My mom's immunocompromised. So I pull over in Tacoma at a Winco and fill a shopping cart with $500 worth of non-perishable food. I didn't extra stock on toilet paper because I had no idea that was going to be the scarcity run was toilet paper.
Missed out. You needed that prediction.
But it was still before, I think we were at the beginning of March at this point. We hadn't tripped into it's official. It was the first test was Washington State, positive test. And so I'm driving up to Kirkland knowing that once I get there, we're not leaving the apartment. I didn't want to go shopping in Kirkland. So, but everybody else in Tacoma was just another day. It was just another day. So instead of getting my mom moved in and driving off, I stayed. And we spent 3 years together living in a really amazing apartment. It was a great place to get stuck for a lockdown. We had a green belt of woodland animals that would come and play. So
Somebody was just remarking about the fact that all the animals came out during the pandemic, that once people stopped driving, that the animals started walking around. And she was in England, right? Are you saying that that's what you saw?
we live next to a green belt where I don't think it was a pre or post pandemic thing. There were squirrels in the trees outside our door. So, but one of the best movies I saw was David Attenborough's The Year Earth Changed. And it showed the upside of the pandemic was that all of the other animals got a shot at having their territories back a little bit. So the Himalayas were visible from cities in India that hadn't had a chance to see them in decades because of the smog. So, yeah. So, John, what were you doing during the pandemic?
That's a story I tell here all the time, which is like I lost 15 programs, and of course, changed my entire career.
Let me contextualize it with the squid stuff. what was it like for you emotionally as those days played out and you watched your entire business plan collapse?
Well, it's something like this, right? I have a team building business, so I was doing 160 events around the world. Then this little thing showed up, and then yeah, there's 15 programs. So part of my own personal training, though, is like in team building as well as all the personal development that I do. Is how do we respond to this? That's the one thing you really can have more control over than virtually anything that you have, right? So we're watching all this change happen, and I don't know. I feel personally trained myself that um, that there's an opportunity around there, and that you have to usually do a different response than the rest of the world that's doing. And so, for me, in one of these that I looked at, it actually is coming into a new thing that I've been talking about, and this is called fix it marketing. Fix it marketing says if you have something that you think you can fix a problem with it, then fix it. And that quite often that might be the best marketing that you ever had. I mean, that's how I became actually Jay Abraham's producer at this point because I fixed somebody's friggin' video, and I just don't have any fear about that anymore. I'm just here to help, right? So what I did is like my history says I spent over 30 years researching stuff online, wrote this book, and then the part that says what can I do to help, I put a class up called Virtual Team Building, and just said, well, what can I do to help the world? That's a different question than how am I going to stock up and not die, or how am I going to, steal everyone else's toilet paper, or, what fear thing is happening this other day. I didn't go through any of those. I'm just like, what could I do? And so it turned out that the world was going virtual, and we had already researched it for over 30 years. So I felt like I had something that nobody would buy, by the way, Dr. Mel. Nobody would buy, for 30 years prior to that. But now the context of the world changed, and maybe it was time. And of course, the key here is that 5,000 people took the class in the first year, and it really changed everything about what I do now. So I think in that, right, is that I stopped, I questioned, I asked a different question than most other people. I'm trying to understand what's going on. So this is the other part too, is that, within the realm of friends that I had, some of them military, some of them medical, we went around and said, this is not going to be a month, all right? This is going to be probably 3 years. And we were the only people who correctly predicted that. Everyone's like, oh, we'll be back in January, or we'll be back in July. The world will be back to normal in July. And that did not happen, right? So by having the true understanding and guessing, it was a guess, but we predicted correctly with that. It allowed me to make decisions that were radically different than most other people. So I imagined a new world. I decided, and it ended up changing my life.
And do you feel like of the different journeys you could be on, do you feel like you're on path? That the reasons that you're here on the earth, you are manifesting those?
I feel like I'm on path almost all the time, though, Mel. I mean, if I'm not on the path, I think part of what I do is I recognize that something doesn't feel right and change it. I mean, that's part of being an entrepreneur. It's like if I don't like something in my business, it's my fault. So I'm going to change it. And if I don't change it and I still bitch about it, then it's still my fault.
Okay, and that's where, okay. So we have some number of people who are watching this now, some number of people who will watch this as we continue on. You just brought up the entrepreneurship, and this is where, John Jen, I struggle. I have all of these great tools, and I have just today connected with someone I've known for quite a while who now has availability to be an assistant and help me produce the stuff we're working on, who is bilingual and capable of being Professor Burbo. So we are going to try ratcheting up the activities that I have been backburnered on for so long here, and use your strategies for getting the word out there farther. Like fixing the book, because the book, it's out there, but it's not done yet. And this guy who passed away last October, Philip Zimbardo, you mentioned at the beginning. Yep. Philip Zimbardo, one of the greatest contributors to psychology of all time, notable for the Stanford Prison Experiment, but completely misunderstood in that was something he did in the 70s. And what he did after that, he's one of the greatest contributors to psychology. He died last October before a bunch of other things happened. And he's waiting for this book to be re-released with an updated collection of stuff. And I haven't finished it. It's my fault it's not done.
You're
So
the entrepreneur in this case, right? If you're sad about it, it's not done.
right,
Either
okay.
you do something or you don't do something about it.
Here's my question, anybody watching, viewing, and so on. I need help completing the movement of these ideas into the public world of childhood education, children's books, production of all of the different things, songs and videos and so on. And I'm looking for fellow creators who are trying to help address the mental health crises that are sort of pervasive around the world. And how to manage the noise between our ears. So
Mel's link tree is on this podcast, so if you want to see the comments, you can click the link tree and connect with Mel.
Email me at squidminders@gmail.com and say, hey, Mel, I'm interested in, and how can I support you? Honestly, does this work relate to what you're working on? Because I'm all about finding other people to collaborate with. I've put Creative Commons stuff all over this, so anyone is welcome to use it anywhere, adapt however you want.
All right. Well, speaking of the future, right? You asked me to ask you about the future.
Okay.
So what does Dr. Mel Ganus see in the future of either virtual, hybrid, or the world?
So I love the dialogues I've been having with ChatGPT. I call mine Jeannie because she's such a magician. And we were talking about what would the world look like if we could just flip a switch so that our default reaction as human beings was toward kindness. What if humans could just be reprogrammed to default toward a kindness reaction instead of fight or flight, instead of all of the other greed, selfish, all of those things that are our natural tendencies? Mm-hmm. And I have this hope that with the tools and the number of human beings who have positive intention out there, that there's some way that wave moves us through this particular period where there's going to be a lot of suffering and struggle. There is a lot of suffering and struggle. It's just exploding. How do we move so that places like detention centers have kindness and compassion? How do we move so that the people who are the prison guards, Stanford Prison Experiment becomes very relevant here, are treating the people that they are guarding with compassion and as human beings instead of this othering and separating people from each other that makes it so ugly. And I look at Squid and I'm like, if you notice that you are treating people as something other than a human being, you've got to question yourself, especially if you're calling yourself Christian. Are you treating people with a Christian, what would Jesus do? Or are you behaving in some manner that's inconsistent with your values? Things like that.
Well, that will lead us to the speed portion of this interview. So while we've been talking, I've been generating questions. This is known as the speed round. The speed round is set here. I'm going to ask you questions, and you will try and answer them as quickly as possible. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Your best compliment from somebody.
You don't just think outside of the box, you live there.
What was the best benefit of COVID?
Time with mom.
The thing you would most appreciate about moms in general?
Unconditional love is a possibility.
Who's your favorite author?
David Brin, Scott McCloud, Nick Susanis, my mom.
This is the speed round, Mel. Your favorite kid toy?
My octopus puppet.
Your favorite accessible location?
Space Needle, observation deck.
Wow, that's accessible?
Yeah.
Your favorite sea life besides squid?
Octopus.
Oh, brother. And your wish for 2025.
Peace, love, and understanding.
Oh, it said so well by my good friend Elvis Costello. All right. Peace, love, and understanding. All right. Well, Mel, if people could you could get them to magically remember one thing from this interview, what would you want it to be?
Whenever you feel like something is wrong, can you stop to ask questions before you go on? Can you ask good questions to better understand? Can you imagine your choices, then decide on a plan?
Outstanding. All right. Well, we've been visiting here with Dr. Mel Ganus. Dr. Mel, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure and email her at squidminders@gmail.com. And you can think about what happens when you get inked next time. Thank you, Dr. Mel.
Thank you, John Chen.
All right. Well, we've been talking with Dr. Mel, and she's asking you, when the next time something happens, can you stop? And what different question will you ask during that time? And can you live with your mom for 3 years during the pandemic? Anyways, we hope you enjoyed this time here with Dr. Mel Ganus. And we got a few other, oh yeah, of course we got a few other announcements here. Hey, if you're here on social media, thanks for those who were chatting there. Life in the Big Mango and Raja39 for chatting. Share, like, and comment. Make sure and go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online. We passed over 1,500 downloads, so we're cruising along here in the podcastosphere. And if you want to be like Dr. Mel, you can come here and get a free ticket to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON. The last week in October, live here in Seattle and virtual online, so you can attend from anywhere in the world. And if you want to be like Dr. Mel, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you too can be the next person interviewed here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. We'll see you next time.
Drawing star people